What's up guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is Felicia. If you're new here, please subscribe and like and all that stuff. If you notice, this is a slightly different background because today we're talking about books. So I've sat in front of my bookshelf. Today this is sort of like a check-in on my goals for 2018, which one of them was to read more books. And so recently I've been like intensely reading, like devouring books. Like I started the year being like, I'm gonna do this, and then like I refound my passion for reading, and now I just can't stop. So that's cool. So the first section of books that I'll talk about is like self-help land. Beginning of 2018 especially, I was like really into self-help land. So some of them I read on audiobook, or like listened to on audiobook. Oh, I hear my dog coming. Oh, does Toby want to come say hello? Toby heard me filming. You betrayed me. Toby is a good boy. Two, some of these books, especially the self-help ones, I've already mentioned on this channel. So I'll just like briefly go over them. The first one, which I read via real book, was The Secret by Rhonda. And this book, the theories presented in this book, I have found extremely helpful, like literally life-changing. The law of attraction, and understanding it and actively using it has actually changed my life. So I do highly recommend this. I know some people like find like fault with the concept, but like honestly, as long as things are helping you and not hurting you, I say do it. And this law of attraction has like totally changed my life. So yay that. Some other self-help ones I actually listened to on audiobook, so I'll just talk you through them. Obviously, I've already mentioned on this channel, You Are a Badass at Making Money, and I really loved that book. That totally changed my mind about how I think about money, and like taking away like the shame of talking about money. So that book was really exciting. I already talked about Big Magic, which I also like said the title too wrong on my videos, so sorry. So the book is actually called Big Magic: Creative Living Beyond Fear. Not a guide to creative living, but you know, we are all doing our best here, right? Can you see it? Hello. Boom. So this book, I think I've already talked about on my channel, I'm pretty sure, but I really loved it. I think, first of all, she has like the most soothing voice I have literally ever heard. Like, it was like so calming to listen to on the subway. The book basically is talking about living a creative lifestyle and putting creativity into your daily life. It takes the preciousness away from what you're creating, thus allowing you to create a lot more often, and create more content. So yeah, content. The next book that I read, I think this was the first book that I listened to this year, and that's Girl Boss by Sofia Amoruso, founder and CEO of Nasty Gal, where I do buy a lot of my shoes. So this book was like pretty good. I especially because I was in very much like, I want to like be a girl boss and like make my own business and like change my life and all this stuff. But this was a really great book to start my year with, and I did feel very empowered by it. That's good. I liked it overall. This isn't really self-help land, but it is a book that was really important to me this year. So this is Goodbye to All That, Writers on Loving and Leaving New York. So this book is basically a lot of different writers writing essays in response to, not in response to, but inspired by Joan Didion's Goodbye to All That. I'll read the quote at the beginning, which is from that essay, and it says, "All I mean is that I was very young in New York, and that at some point the golden rhythm was broken, and I am not that young anymore." So all these essays are about writers who came to New York, or maybe were born here and at some point left, and they sort of talk about why they left. Some of them ended up coming back, and yeah, New York, there's a lot of things that I don't love about living here, and there are some things that I know that I can't get anywhere else. So there's always this like conflicted thing about living here. This book just made me feel very like understood, and yeah, it didn't really encourage me to leave or stay, but which is not the point. It just made me feel understood in my struggle with living here. So I highly recommend this. And all the writers in it are just so great. They're all pretty short. my dog just knocked over a broom. And he ran to me because he was so scared that he knocked the broom over. But it's okay. So, it's okay, Mom. Wow, that really freaked him out. Okay, but anyways, this book is great. This is the first like non-self-help book I read this year. I love young adult fiction, like love young adult fiction. And it's so funny. It's always like whenever I go to like the bookstore, whichever bookstore, Strand or whatever, and I'm like in the young adult section, there's always like a couple girls that are my age just being like, yeah, I love this. So this is the first one that I read. This is Fallen by Lauren Cates, and this is like a really popular young adult fiction book. When I started reading it, I hadn't read a young adult fiction book in a while, and so I was like really hungry for it, and I was really enjoying it. But towards the end, I don't know, it wasn't my favorite. It just felt like really cliched, which obviously like a lot of young adult fiction has like a lot of cliches in it. But this just felt like sort of a boring remake of Twilight, but instead of vampires, there's something else, which I won't tell you because, you know, you should read it. Should you? I don't know. It was okay. It wasn't my favorite. Toby, please. No. It wasn't my favorite, but Toby, no. It wasn't my favorite, but it was okay. This is Gillian Flynn's Sharp Objects, and I already read Gone Girl like a couple years ago, and I loved it. But I just didn't look up her other work at the time, I guess. So this was her debut novel. This is Sharp Objects, and this book was like, I read it in 2 days. I could not put it down. It was so intense and so like addicting. Like, what are all these quotes on here? Actually, this is good. It says, keeps you reading with a force of pure but nasty addiction. Chicago Tribune. And I honestly, like, yes, it is like a nasty addiction reading this book. Because when you're reading it, you feel sort of like, should I be reading this? And then like, you can't stop. I don't know. But I actually picked it up because there's a great Stephen King quote on the back of it. I love Stephen King. And so I was like, I trust his taste in books. And so I got it. And now I'm like sort of obsessed with her right now. The women characters she writes are so like, she just writes some nasty characters. So I already ordered her other book, Dark Places. So that's something I'm gonna read pretty soon here. The next book I will talk about is Wild. This is obviously the cover of Reese Witherspoon from the movie. But this is Wild by Cheryl Strayed. And, ooh, glare, there you are. This book, I loved it. This book has like a lot of weird controversy on the internet. I'm not like, it's people just being like, why would you go into such an intense situation with no training? And I'm just like, well, it doesn't matter why. It's like, why she did it is in the book. Like, just read the book. And I don't know, I really liked this book. I found it very inspiring. It also just talks so much about, like, she basically lives in the wild for months, and it's like, what is it like to live in a way in which the universe once had us living, and to just like, it's just you and the wild, and like once in a while you'll see another person, but it's just like you and nature. And also like reading this while living in Brooklyn, New York was like, I was like, wow, I need to like see some trees and see some like space, because the way she's just like, so she's hiking the PCT trail in California, and like the amount of space she can see in front of her is just like, it's so like, in New York you can only see so far because like the buildings obviously, but like she can just see for like so many miles, and like she can see mountains when they're like a week away from her. Like it's pretty cool. So I really liked the book a lot. I had seen the movie when it came out, and I liked the movie. I love Reese Witherspoon. So I see whatever she's in because I love her. But reading the book was like, obviously like 100 times more fulfilling than seeing the movie. She also does a great job of like putting her like life flashbacks into sort of like what led her to the trail while she's on the trail in the book. So that's really, really cool. Oh, another book I read that I just finished, but I actually don't have because I just like, I finished the book and then I had coffee with a friend, and then I was talking about the book and she was like, oh, I never read that. And I was just like, oh, here you go. So I don't have it right now. So that book was called Speak by Lori Halsey Anderson. And it's another young adult fiction book. Also like a really easy short read. I read it in a couple days or something. And it just like really understands the high school experience. The girl's like a freshman in high school. It's an intense read. Maybe look it up before you read it. But I really enjoyed it. And some of the images that she puts into the book so perfectly articulate the like 14-year-old experience. It's really good. So now I'll just talk about a couple things that I'm reading now, or about to read. One of them's up here. This book, so A Wrinkle in Time, obviously the new movie just came out. And this is a book that like pretty much everyone I knew read while they were in school, but I didn't. I don't know, my teacher didn't do that. So I've never read it. So I started reading a couple, like yesterday, and I'm really enjoying it. This is gonna take me no time. It's, you know, it's an easy read. It's a kid's book. But I'm really enjoying it because obviously like I had loved the original movie and then I just saw the new movie. And I was like, why have I never read this book that like every single person in America has read? So far so good. So far I like it. The other book I just started that I'm like really young adult fiction land right now. This is called Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. These books are like super duper popular. I actually follow the author on Instagram. I really like love her content. Never read her books. So I picked this up and I feel really excited about it. It's basically like a society where like half the society has red blood and half has silver blood, and then like what goes on. Yeah, I don't know, it's pretty cool. Oh, I'm also trying to listen to Dracula, and this is like, it has the like most amazing cast. It's literally like Alan Cumming, Tim Curry. Focus. I'll just hide. It's literally like Alan Cumming, Tim Curry, and it's just like, I just had no idea Dracula was so dense. Because I tried to read it because I have, oh my god, it's literally right here. I was trying to read it. I have like this big fancy book. But I was like having such a hard time getting into it. And I was like, what is wrong with me? Like I love vampires. And then, so I was like, okay, well maybe I'll listen to it with this all-star cast and start to enjoy it more. And it's still pretty dense, very dense. But I'm gonna keep listening to it. But yeah, so that's sort of what's going on. Alright guys, that's it. So let me know if you like this video. Let me know if you want to like know more about the books that I'm reading. Because I'm pretty obsessed right now. I just put in a pretty hefty Amazon order for a bunch of books. And so I'll have more to share in a month or two from now. So yeah, let me know if you want me to make another one of these. I love reading. So if you like this video, please subscribe, and I will see you next week. Bye!